Hey guys, I'm Voylin, and in today's video I want to talk about should you still take the JLPT in 2024. First of all, a little bit of a backstory of my experience with the JLPT test. In 2017, I think, I tried to take the JLPT N4, failed that one. 2 years ago in December, I took the JLPT N3, passed, and that's about it. That's my experience with the JLPT test. I passed the N3 and I was planning on taking the N2. But there are some things that decided, that made me make the decision to not take the JLPT N2 anymore. I can only see like 3 reasons of why it will be useful. So we have the JLPT N1. This one will be helpful if you want to get a job as like a doctor or some like a higher level job. Second one is some people really want to have some kind of goal to work to so they know what to learn next. And it will lead them through the journey of studying Japanese in a way that they will have the basics down so they can actually start learning more by consuming actual Japanese content or by actually like just talking to people in daily life. So that's another reason. So we have job, and then we have for hobby and personal reasons, personal goals. And then we have, well, this is more for the JLPT N2 and JLPT N1. This is basically for people who live abroad, who want to come to Japan, have the degree, can have the work certificates, the working visa. People who want to come from abroad are often required to have the JLPT N2 to prove that they have enough Japanese knowledge to function inside of a company here. So in my honest opinion, I find the JLPT kind of outdated. There are better ways of showing that you actually have Japanese speaking knowledge. For people who want to become doctors and such, I could see a reason why they will need to do that. For people wanting to enter university here, I could also see why they will need a JLPT certificate. But don't make it a requirement. If people can prove in some way that they actually speak good Japanese, they should be given a fair chance and not still be required to pass this test. Because the price of this test also keep going up. When I took the test for the first time, it was only like Gosen yen, but now the prices have gone up to 7,500 yen. That's 50% more expensive. And that's the prices inside of Japan. The moment that you move abroad, the prices are higher, a lot higher sometimes. So is it worth taking the JLPT test in 2024? Well, the answer really depends on, do you actually need it? If it's just for passing, like your own personal goal tracking, if you're willing to pay the money, go for it. Else, just take a practice test and have the discipline to not cheat and actually follow the time rules and such. Because the biggest reason why a lot of people cannot pass the JLPT test is, well, probably not studying enough. But the second one is also just time limit. The time limit that you get to fill out the entire test is short. If you take a little bit too long to think for certain questions, you basically cannot fill in the rest anymore. And if you forgot your watch, like I often do when I take a test, you don't really know when the time will be up. So you spend a little bit too long with one question and then you cannot fill in the rest of your form. The whole way the test is also rated, it's kind of sketchy. And I say that with a very big reason. I'm not saying that the JLPT is a scam, but I feel like they always have like a certain amount of people that they want to pass, that like want to make pass, and a certain amount, like it's always almost like 60-40% of people who pass and don't pass. And you see the same over like all the previous years. Or a lot of people fail, or it's because of their interesting scoring system. Because answering one question correct does not mean that you'll get a lot of points. For example, if a lot of people get the same answer correct, you will get less points for that question and more points for the questions that got wrong. In other words, their entire test rating system, it's kind of like a black box. We don't really know how they're rating it, or yeah, we don't, like you also don't even see what you got wrong. Seeing it as a learning experience to take the tests, I don't really count it as like a valid reason to take the test, because you never really realize what you got wrong because you don't get a corrected version of your tests. Like I have a lot of problems with this whole test, the reason that they keep getting more expensive, the applications ending so quickly, like you really need to reserve in advance for what kind of preparation? printing takes a long time? I don't know. Maybe reserving the places to have enough people, like to have enough spaces for people to sit down. That could be a valid reason. But they must have previous data showing that they need around like this amount of spaces. So they could kind of plan in advance with finding locations. Renting places could be more expensive. That's why the price keeps going up. But especially here in Japan, if you think that like the Japanese government also supports the JLPT test, is it then actually like, do they still need to pay full price for like reserving a location? The JLPT test is still a thing. A lot of people still want to take it or feel like they need to take it or actually need to take it. A lot of people feel like they need to take it. By example, people who want to move to Japan. They will try to get the JLPT to get an increased chance of getting a job here, whilst that almost rarely ever matters because there's so many people with a JLPT certificate that the market is flooded. Unless you get a higher number like an N2 or an N1 even, your chances of getting a job don't necessarily become higher with having a JLPT certificate. Also, did I mention that the certificates are like an extra cost on top? Because again, paper is apparently expensive. I know that I may sound negative, but for something that's like supported by the government to be like such a money grab, which gets more expensive each year, I don't quite understand it. Also the fact that the whole rating takes like 2-3 months. Like are there like only 2 people? Like I thought that those kind of sheets can be scanned into a computer and you just let the computer do the work to rate and make the tests, like score the tests. Yeah, I have a lot of problems with it. And that's why I'm not going to take the JLPT test anymore. I was really planning on taking the JLPT N2 in December, but I don't see the point in paying almost yen for a test that could slightly improve my chances, or I could just spend that time that I would spend studying JLPT specific things, talking with actual people outside because I live in Japan, or consume more Japanese content, read more things that I'm interested in instead of JLPT specific stuff. For example, if I want to have a programming job, why should I study JLPT test? I could just study the necessary vocab and such from books in the library, for example, or online articles to learn the vocab that I need for the job instead. And the other words, they are necessary when you like want to be actually fluent in Japanese. It does not mean that a word is not that common, that you don't need it. Like there are plenty of words in English that you kind of know the meaning of, but that you probably use like once a year. I'm not saying that not studying JLPT specific content is bad. I just think it's kind of limiting if your goal is to get a job here. It's better to just practice your Japanese in your own way instead of like specifically studying JLPT specific things. I think it's more valuable to actually be able to explain yourself in the job that you want to do with the vocab that you should know for that kind of a job, instead of knowing how to say nuclear reactor or all the political words. Yeah, I don't see a reason. So yeah, my plan right now is I will still kind of study for the JLPT N2 and I'll just take a practice test at home just to achieve that goal of passing the JLPT N2. And that's about it. I won't be paying for taking the test anymore, and I just don't care. So I'll just keep studying Japanese in my own way and improving in the way that I want to, and not according to a test, because Japan thinks that's a better way of spending your time. Oh well. Let me know what you think of in the comments, and if you think the complete opposite, that the JLPT is great and amazing and that everybody should take it and spend their money, just write it down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.